Hello everybody, Moisey'S here with Millennium Duelist, and today I'll be showing you guys my Salamangreat deck profile. Salamangreat's just really good at out-resourcing and grinding out wins, so if that's the type of deck you're looking for, then I wholeheartedly recommend this deck. It's pretty budget, honestly. Besides the hand traps, the core is like 10 bucks basically. If you can find Soul Burner structure decks at your local Walmart or Target, I know it's hard right now, but if you do, pick them up. Ashes are like 15s right now, and it contains Ash in the structure deck, so it's so worth it. Um, I think that this deck still has a lot of competitive viability, honestly. With a good enough pilot, I think it's still able to succeed. I've been testing it out with both meta and rogue decks alike, and I've seen some pretty good success with this profile, at least in my testing. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into the profile. Alright, so starting off the deck profile, I play 3 Lady Debug, 3 Parallel Exceed, 2 Flame Buffalo, and 1 Pankratops. So Lady Debug's really good for searching out all your extenders. Parallel Exceed is really good because you can chain block with them, and then with his special summon effect you have Link and Xyz plays. Flame Buffalo is good because if you pitch a Salamangreat that procs Engrave for his effect, you draw 2 and now you have a live extender. And then Pankratops is really good for getting over really annoying cards like Winda or something. You special summon him, you attack over it, and then you have a free pop on either player's turn. And even if you don't have something like Winda, just opening him is really good going second. Moving on to the Salamangreat monsters, I run 1 Gazelle, 1 Falco, and then 2 each of Foxy, Spinny, and Jaguar. Gazelle is pretty self-explanatory, like there's a reason this card's at 1, it's so good. Being able to Foolish Burial any card in your archetype, and then being able to recur it is just so good. And then his special summon effect can be used on either player's turn, so it can help stop OTK sometimes. Falco helps recur your resources because he adds a Speller Trap when he's sent to grave, and if you want to add your Gazelle back and use him instead, you can, so that you can have your Gazelle for your opponent's turn. Salamangreat Foxy is really good just because of the fact that he's like a pot of duality for you. He's not what I want to always normal summon, so that's why I run him at 2, because I don't really want to see him over the other cards that I want to normal. Spinny's really good because of the fact that he's a free special summon, and then occasionally his effect of boosting something by 500 does come up, so it's always good to have it. I would honestly run it at 1 and run a Prohibit Snake instead, but I actually don't have Prohibit Snake right now, so that's why I'm running it at 2. Not having the rank 3 anymore kind of guts his plays a little bit, just because of the fact that you used to be able to make the rank 3 with Gazelle and then extend your plays, but he's not bad by any means. I would just prefer to run him at 1. Jaguar, on the other hand, I run it 2. I always want to see this card just because of the fact that he can recur your resources and it's just such a strong combo piece, and you can even use him to make some rank 4 plays. He's just so good, and honestly, like every time I see him, I know that I can grind out the game well enough. Moving on to hand traps, I actually run 3 Ash, 2 Phantasme, 2 Ghost Spell, and 2 Droll. So the reason I run 2-2-2 is just because of the fact that this deck wants to disrupt your opponent as much as possible so that they can OTK you. And having a wider variety of stuff that I can stop is always good. Droll is really good right now. Grave Center decks get hurt by Ghost Spell, and Dragon Link kind of gets hurt by Phantasme too. And then he can also just help you unbreak your hand sometimes. Ash is the best generic hand trap, so obviously you have to run it at 3. I just think that even if there's a hand trap that I run that isn't good in the matchup, I just side it out next round later, so it doesn't really matter. So you can honestly replace those with whatever hand traps you want to run. I just prefer these. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 Signet Mining, so I can search whatever I want. And also, if you send a Salamangreat and then search Gazelle, you can actually activate Gazelle's effect off after resolution because the Salamangreat card was sent to grave. 2 Power Desires. Some people run 3. I like it at 2 just because of the fact that I don't like drawing desires off of desires, and that happens to me way too much. So I prefer it at 2. You can run it at 3. 2 Will of the Salamangreat. This card's really good for just extending your plays or grinding out your opponent, just because of the fact that you can special summon your Link monsters. You can special summon a certain amount of monsters up to the Link rating of a reincarnated Salamangreat. So if you have your Sunlight Wolf that's been reincarnated, you can special summon 2 by sending this to grave, and then you can add it right back to Sunlight with Sunlight Wolf's effect, so you can just use it again next turn. The card's just really good, but I think 2 is fine. Salamangreat Sanctuary, Circle, and Call by the Grave are the last three. I mean, the field spell is obvious. You need to run it, but you don't really want to run it at more than one just because it can break your hand. Salamangreat Circle is really good for searching, and then the secondary effect to make a reincarnated Salamangreat unaffected by monster effects does come up every now and then, so it's nice to have. And then Called by the Grave, I mean, it's Called by the Grave. You can use it offensively or defensively depending on what situation you're in, but you can stop your opponent from hand trapping you during your turn, or you can use it offensively to hit something they have on their turn. So the card's just really good. I mean, I'd run it at least 2 if it wasn't at 1. And finally for traps, I play 2 Salamangreat Roar and 2 Rage. I run them both at 2. This is pretty standard now, but I don't want to activate Desires and then I lose my 1 Roar or my 1 Rage. So always having 2 is nice. If you're able to set both of these on your first turn, realistically you should be able to kill next turn because having 2 free pops and a Solemn Judgment is just so good. If you're not able to win next turn, you should at least be in a very strong winning position. Alright, moving on to the extra deck, I run 1 Linkuriboh to stop my opponent from activating traps on my turn. 3 Baylinks, I mean, it's your main combo starter. It makes your deck basically go around. It searches your field spell and it prevents Salamangreats from being destroyed by banishing it from the graveyard. This will be the main card you go into first. 3 Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, just because he can recur your resources by adding back fire monsters to hand or a Salamangreat spell or trap. Both effects can be used on the same turn, so he's just really good for adding stuff back and being able to pump out more monsters next turn, or being able to set up disruption for your opponent's turn. After that, I run the Update Jammer package, so 1 Update Jammer, 1 Splash Mage, 1 Transcode. Update Jammer into Transcode Talker is just so good, just because of the fact that, you know, Transcode Talker will special summon him back, and then off that you can make either the Borload or the Access Code. If you're making one of these two, then chances are you're pushing for game, so you should be able to finish it off of these two guys, just because they'll be able to attack twice off Update Jammer. And even more so, Access Code Talker will basically be able to banish at least 3 cards, or destroy at least 3 cards, just because of the fact that, you know, you'll have a Fire Engrave, you'll have a Wind Engrave, and you'll have an Earth Engrave. And then Splash Mage is really good just because of the fact that his restriction of only summoning Cybers doesn't really hurt your deck, because your entire deck is basically Cybers, and so is your extra deck basically. So it's not that big of a loss at all. After that, I play Firewall. I really just want an excuse to play this card, but I really like Firewall Dragon. And then he's also just a good extender. If you're able to summon back a Link monster off Will of the Salamangreat and then make him to combo off into more plays, then it's just really good to have. You won't go into him too often, but he is an option. And also the bounce effect does come up sometimes, because, you know, you can make like a Baylinks or a Sunlight Wolf, put Firewall under him, and then he can just bounce an opponent's card back. And then after that, I run the Abyss Dweller and the Baguska. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's your rank 4 engine. Abyss Dweller and Baguska are really strong right now, just because Abyss Dweller can end turns just by having the bandit, or just by stopping your opponent from activating Effects Engrave. And Baguska is just Baguska. It's a 3-turn stall basically. If they can't get over it, then you can just, you know, stay on your board until you're able to grab the resources you need to finish your opponent off. So yeah, that's about it for the profile, guys. Honestly, let me know what you think, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.